Software development cannot go without determining the how and why of developing the product. With use cases and user stories, a comprehensive understanding of this can be achieved. Let's start exploring the same via this video. This video will cover essentially the concept of a use case, its objectives, components, the way to create a test case from a use case, its limitations, the concept of a user story, the difference between a user story and a use case, and the benefits of a user story. A use case essentially refers to an interaction or a sequence of actions performed by a system which is described in the UML, that is, Unified Modeling Language, presenting a graphical notation for the system. A use case illustrates comprehensively the actions to be taken as well as the end goal of what a user will accomplish by using the software and what the responses of the software will be to such user actions. Herein, the role of QA becomes to review these use cases, document a query if any, ensure the use case are baseline and write the scenario-based test cases based on the same therein. With a requirement document in hand, one is able to understand all the needs of a business, whereas a use case is a specific statement derived from the requirement itself, wherein the requirement can map multiple use cases. In a use case, then, an interaction between an actor, which can be a person, system, or some external entity with the system is achieved, in which the actor has a motive to use the system and attain the end goal. Herein, according to the various roles of an actor, the services consumed from an application differs and is common too for some. For example, a student can take assignments or view grades, whereas the role of an instructor is to schedule assignments or tests. But some services that are the same for both can be to take a print of the assignment, to view grades, etc. This access of the application varies upon the role of the actor. Moving on to the main objectives of use cases. They are mainly to document the requirements in an understandable format, serve as an effective tool to communicate between the parties involved, document the business process supported by the system under development, identify business decisions, any respective action to be taken, or even the limitations within. Essentially, represent the main aim of the interaction taking place between an actor and the system. Record the flow of events from the beginning of the use case itself to the end goal, which are either the successful scenarios or scenarios that fall short of the desired goal. The key components of use cases essentially include the use case name, number, version, summary of the scenario, any association or dependencies, the actors and stakeholders involved, the major business rules and limitations, if any, the prerequisites needed, the starting or trigger point, flow of events, the consequences or the post conditions, and any associated use case if relevant. In order to derive or create a test case from a use case, the general flow is linear, whereas alternative flows become various paths according to the scenario. One needs to identify all the scenarios for a given use case, which describes one specific path through the flow of events. Herein, the basic flow B becomes a straight line down use case, whereas traversing via A1, A2, A3, and A4 become alternative flow to attain the end goal. However, use cases have certain constraints. They are not well suited to non-functional requirements like performance, security, etc. The templates don't ensure the clarity of the interaction between a user and the application, as it depends on the skill of the writer. As use cases do not have a standard definition, its interpretation may prove to be ambiguous by various groups and thus difficult to be understood by the stakeholders. User stories have in fact paved their way as a much simpler and an understandable approach, especially by the groups following the agile methodology or extreme programming. It also happens that the use case developers find it difficult to determine the level of UI dependency that needs to be incorporated in a use case. This brings in the more used and simpler form of understanding the flow of events, that is, the user stories. They provide short and simple descriptions of a feature from the perspective of the person, usually the user, desiring the new capability. With the mentioned sample template of a user story, they are often written to facilitate planning as well as discussion, which becomes all the more essential in understanding the course of action to be taken. A user story is a lightweight document that can be written on a card, whereas a use case becomes a heavyweight document in a Word document format, describing detailed information about the normal flow of steps and the alternative flows as well. While a user stories does not capture all the details and becomes an informal support for the discussion, a use case captures all the details and is a formal specification. The pros of a user story are many, especially considering its efficiency in handling customer requirements without any burden to create formalized requirement document or any administrative task to be performed in maintaining them. As they are short and simple, they provide small chunk of a business value to be implemented in a period of days to weeks. With this quality, they also prove to be beneficial between a developer and a client to discuss requirements throughout the project lifecycle. They require minimal maintenance and are considered at the time of use, thus also breaking the project into smaller increments and where requirements are volatile, making the iterations of discovery drive the refinement process. All in all, it makes the estimation of the development effort much more easier as well as comprehensive. Therefore, with a comprehensive look at the concept of use cases and user stories, we hope that you learned a little something from this video. To keep on exploring, log on to our site www.qainfotech.com. Thank you.